I want to go over a couple things that have helped in, with some of the athletes or some of the groups that I've worked with. And so the first thing really, and this is going to be super foundational, super basic, okay? And for some of you guys, you have a ton of potential, right? There's a ton of great things that you're able to do from a running perspective, but you got to be able to slow it down to really be able to maximize everything that you have within your body. And these exercises or these drills will be a great way to be able to do that. So the first thing is we got to understand and establish where we want to land, right? And how we want to land. So the big thing is, as we're cycling through, and we see this a lot, especially when you watch like, the best, Lamont Jacobs, Usain Bolt, really any of the guys that are at the top in terms of their sprinting, as their feet are going to hit the ground, they go into a slight degree of plantar flexion, right? So there's this thing right before where their toes kind of are going above to then hitting back down towards the ground. So what we want to do is practice that, going here, landing on the ground, and being able to accelerate up. Because a lot of us need to be able to better understand how to be able to land with our foot like right underneath the hip, right? And then be able to accelerate off, or, be able to stabilize and push right back off. Okay, and so instead of landing on the heel or on the outside of the foot or whatever, really focusing, really slowing down and landing on the right side of the foot and being able to, a right part of the foot, okay, and then being able to toe off right from that position. Just working on that, because now you can create the ability to connect with your body and where specifically you want to land and how the transition wants to happen. So we want to be able to land with that foot underneath the hip and then just be able to accelerate right back off the ground. Okay, we don't want to be spending a long time. What happens is you land on the heel, then you go through here, and this whole time you have to go through this stance phase, so then you end up going into, over pushing, you don't have good backside mechanics, all those types of problems. So the first thing we want to do is just isolate being able to, and you can just do it on one leg, right? Especially if you can figure out what particular leg is really causing a lot of problems for you. Now we could really go and isolate that and just be able to decelerate on that leg and then push right back off, okay? And then the next thing is just being able to, work the cycle of that, right? So now I'm just landing here and just working on being able to, be slow with it. We don't need to be fast. We're not trying to do anything crazy. I don't need to go a long way. I just need to be able to really practice on landing on the balls, the right part of my foot, that balls of your foot, and then being able to push right back off, okay? Again, nothing too crazy in that action, okay? And then the next thing we'll do is just isolate a single leg cycle on one side. So we're here, okay? And be able to get that underneath you a little bit better. I'm going to do it on the left side. I have my mic here on my right, so it kind of limits what I could do from a hip flexion perspective. So we're going to go here, knee up, extend, pull, right? Knee up, extend, pull. And what I think is important to be able to understand, I talk a lot about the front side of mechanics and the importance of having great front side mechanics because of that horizontal action, right, or that ability to work within that part of the cycle, right? We got to be able to have horizontal action. Vertical action here, right? When you look at the numbers, the biggest difference between great sprinters or elite sprinters and, average or novice sprinters is horizontal force production. The vertical force production is about the same. Horizontal force production is really how you're able to separate yourself as a elite sprinter or in terms of having elite speed. Okay, so how do we get better horizontal action, right? How do we move our feet in a better overall way? It's not about knee drive, right? You could have this position and still end up here, okay? It's the ability to be able to maintain as you're coming through here. It's being able to maintain your foot high as you're coming through, so then you have plenty of time to be able to actually create that cycle. Okay, so if you have your leg here, right, and your foot ends up just being low to the ground, or you swing through and you get to this position and your foot is a little bit further behind, then by the time you start to be able to pull back down, you're going to still not have the timing to be able to get that horizontal action, right? So you could still end up having that type of movement, okay, which is not the type of movement that you want to have. So it's not really about knee height, it's about foot height. How well can we get our foot out in front of the knee? Because once you can get your foot out in front of the knee, that seems to be the biggest contributing factor to then being able to pull back down, right? So once we get that foot in front of the knee, now we want to be able to pull back down and be able to land with our foot as close to underneath our hip. And it's, again, it's so much about how well are we able to do that, right? And so that's why I say we want to first be able to isolate the landing, right? How are we going to land? Where are we going to land? And being able to make it so you can feel where that position is, okay? And then being able to get some small horizontal movement, right? So I'm working that horizontal action. I can even do this in place, really. I don't even have to go anywhere. I'm just trying to work on that horizontal action, landing in that exact spot that I'm trying to land at, staying nice and tall, okay? And then I want to be able to, and I can really do this too in place, right? Is pull back down, right? I don't need to go and get a ton of extension here. I don't need to get my knee really high. I just need to work on pulling back down and landing in that same position, right? And being able to isolate that and then work that in 80%, 90%, 100%, and then be able to replicate that and be able to replicate and continue to work on it, okay? Because what's going to happen here is you're going to start to feel differences, right? You're going to feel a difference where you're landing. You're going to feel a difference in how you are interacting with the ground overall. And as you're able to do that, as you're able to get a better sense of, how you are hitting the ground and how to be able to stabilize that and be able to, transition off the ground and get your feet all the way through, you'll be able to generate more speed, and you'll be able to better sync that up with the upper body, with the core, be able to get more disassociation or separation between the shoulders and the hips, which is critical in being able to create rotational movement. And so you got to be able to continue to implement it, right? So just because you get it a little bit, maybe today, or latest tomorrow, I hope, in terms of, starting to do these drills, you start to be able to get a little bit. You got to keep working on those same fundamentals to make it better, because the better you can utilize that horizontal movement, the better you can understand exactly, specifically where on the foot you want to be landing, and the better you could be able to consistently integrate that into your sprinting at top speed, the faster you're going to get. What happens is that you get going for a few steps, and now there's a lot of force being generated, right? There's a lot of body control that is needed in order to sustain for a period of time. So it's hard to be able to do it for a long time, right? You can do it maybe at 80% for a while, but it's hard to be able to do it at 100% for a while. So you got to be able to really practice that particular part of your movement, so then you can be able to really, again, integrate it into your sprinting form so it's a habit and make it so it's something you do all the time, and then you continue to build strength off of that and power off of that, and the control and balance and coordination and everything will just continue to build up and continue to get better. For some of you young athletes, as you continue to get older as well, that's going to help you in addition to just being able to understand where you want to be landing, how you want to be landing, and how to be able to better utilize horizontal force factors and when it comes to being able to sprint faster. So as always, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you like the information, go ahead and click that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below.